Welcome back to Marketing Connected. I'm your host, Xin Ying, and this is Women Who Lead, a series where we sit down and get personal with female leaders across the marketing, advertising, and communications industry across the region in conjunction with International Women's Day 2026. We have in the studio with us today Naiyen Wang, Managing Director for Southeast Asia at We Are Social, a social-led creative agency. She's been with We Are Social for almost 4 years, and prior to that, she's had experience working with DDB, Mullenlow Group, Bates, JWT, and Tequila TBWA, just to name a few. Without further ado, welcome Naiyen. Pleasure to have you on the show. You're Managing Director for Southeast Asia at We Are Social. How would you describe your role and the responsibilities that come with leading across markets?
I think first of all, in general, as anyone who heads up agency, right? So you're responsible for the agency performance. So you're responsible for basically the growth of the agency, the reputation of the agency, and obviously the talents, right, that you have in, the agency as well. And again, you want to make sure that whatever that vision and strategy you have align with the clients, align with, the talent in the agency, align with profitability as well. So I think for a lot of us who runs creative agency, we're trying to make creativity a profitable business.
It sounds like a juggling act as well, because there are so many different aspects to consider in order to make creativity profitable.
It is. It's a very fat word, creativity, but there's a lot of nuances to it as well. And also particularly in our business, right? I think in many ways people think about creative as in the output of a campaign, but it isn't just that, right? Everyone in that environment is basically about creative thinking.
Yeah.
How you problem solve, how you troubleshoot things, etc. So it is much larger than just, okay, this is a piece of work that you see.
What initially drew you to the creative industry?
Wow.
Was there something that you kind of saw maybe as a young woman and you were like, that's so interesting, I want to try and go into advertising? Like, what drew you into it?
Okay, to be very, very, very honest, so I've always been an art student, okay? So I am very good with subjects like, literature, particularly when it comes to things that requires practical criticism, etc. So I think that was a start. I knew that I wasn't, I would never be a doctor, for example.
Or a mathematician,
Exactly,
scientist.
right? So I knew that was my path. Then when I was going to go to university, so actually I went to JC, I went to junior college, and I had a bunch of friends, right? And one of them actually took an internship at Beatty Ads. Yes. And she then told me about, what kind of went down there and her experience working there. And it was just basically, it sounds like a really fun environment. You can do creative thinking, you're working with very interesting personalities. So I knew that was what I wanted to do. So when I went to university, which was in Australia, I decided I was going to do marketing and communications. But at that time, I majored in public relations. Yeah. So I did a bit of a
Interesting. You
test.
did a flip there.
I did. Okay, maybe I'll put it this way, all right? So my first job was in a PR agency. Okay, that was again also kind of part of BDS at that. It's a long time ago, right? And my client was BMW Performance Motors, and I had to write these press releases with car specifications.
Oh, I've seen those.
Yeah, it wasn't easy, okay? So, after maybe about a year of doing that, I decided maybe that wasn't the thing for me. Yeah, yeah.
So you were more drawn after that to the creative side.
I wanted to create campaigns. Yeah, I want to be part of creating campaigns. So yeah, so I did a pivot and worked on a project together with, the very, very onset of, which was at that time Tequila. They were just upstairs from us. Yeah. So I went to join them.
So it was from a friend's description of her experience.
Yeah,
that
definitely.
kind of planted the seed in your mind.
Yes.
Wow, okay. And look at where you are today. Is there realities about your role now as a managing director that people may not actually hear about very often, or that people don't always talk about? Like,
Actually, I think being in a leadership role is probably one of the toughest jobs that I've ever taken on because you deal with so many perspective of things, right? You have to make sure that, your people are happy, the clients are happy, the profit is there, there's growth, you think about the product, you think about the reputation. It's kind of like a range of things that you have to kind of navigate, right? And I guess sometimes there are things that people don't see is that actually it's very hard to keep everything at the same level all the time. You got to kind of toggle different things.
Ups and downs for something, while something
Definitely.
else is doing really well.
Yeah, definitely. And, you also want to kind of make sure that you look after the people in the agency as well, in the workplace. But, sometimes you also have to make certain decisions that are not so great for maybe, some people, but you do it for the general good, right? So, yeah, just basically those challenges. But obviously, my team, to be honest, they are the toughest teachers. I really told them that. So learning as I kind of go along as well. Yeah.
Right. Toughest teachers as in them teaching you about something or
Well, not really. I enjoy the team a lot,
Yeah.
right? But it's really kind of more of because there's a lot of young people in our agency as well that come from, a very different generation from my generation. I'm not saying that I'm very old, but coming from a different generation.
we're not gonna touch on age here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
whom I also have to get used to in terms of the way they think, their expectations, and all that, right? So it is a very, very sort of like fruitful journey, yeah, so far. So I'm still learning as I go along.
I see. Your experience in Shanghai, can we kind of talk about that a little bit? Like what did you learn from that 6 years
Ooh.
there?
Well, I went to Shanghai in end of 2006, which was a very different time from the China now. It was very progressive already, but it was pre-WeChat, right? So
Kind of getting there but not there yet. They were like
it is, and they have a very different sort of like digital environment. I guess what it taught me because it was such a vast market, right? You have tier 1 to tier 4, that kind of cities, and I think in many ways doing business there is very, very different. You've got to be very, very on the pulse. You've got to be fast. You've got to be very entrepreneurial as well. You can't like follow very straight rules. So you learn how to be very nimble. You learn how to be very open to different styles of doing things and not sticking by the books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not that like one way is better than the other or anything. It's just how they work is so different from what we know here, especially in like Southeast Asia.
Resilience. I learned resilience.
Resilience.
Yeah, and my Chinese improved as well, my Mandarin.
That is number one. I think for a lot of people that is like the top thing they would like to do.
Yeah.
This year's International Women's Day theme is Give to Gain. What are you most intentional about giving to others that you work with, maybe specifically for women, that you now lead or you mentor your team, and why does that matter to you?
I think it's really important to kind of give people opportunities, okay, so the way that our business hire people, right, is that, we have a client who's an FMCG client, that's personal care brands, and we look for people for like-to-like sort of experience, and we seem to kind of be quite close off to maybe somebody who comes from something that's adjacent or something completely quite different. So I think for me, it's really kind of giving people that kind of opportunities whereby they don't have a CV that is a like-for-like CV, right? And they are very keen in coming into this industry, but I think looking at their experiences and where they can add value, because this is just the way we are, right? We kind of look for, well, you've got this kind of experience, so I'm going to hire you based on what you did in the past. But I wish that we can give more opportunities to people who may not have that sort of direct experience. I mean, we do have people in the agency who came from maybe like slightly different background or maybe have taken a career break, but we hire them into the agency. So I wish we can do more of that.
Right.
Yeah.
And speaking of International Women's Day, I've heard that you are a mother yourself. So what has it been like navigating motherhood alongside with your journey of building your career? And what do you cherish most about that experience?
Okay, I'll take maybe a couple of steps back.
Sure.
I had my kids when I was quite a bit older. Okay, so my kids are quite young and they're twins. And I have like a boy and a girl. Okay. I remember when I was on maternity leave, it was difficult because managing twins wasn't easy, right? But I mean, I think the great thing is that I had a very strong support system. And towards the end of the maternity leave, I had to work on a pitch, which I actually look forward to.
I mean, I get that. It's something exciting that is like not
It's not
the
just
humdrum
feeding, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, right? So and the reason I was able to do that was because there was a strong support system. I'm very, very fortunate. And living in Singapore, you're fortunate in some ways that you get very good help, like maybe your mom,
Yeah.
you have helpers and all that. So I have my kids, I have a helper. She's more of a nanny to my kids. And she's been with us ever since my kids. So I have to celebrate her. If it hadn't been for her,
Yes.
I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing right now, right? So she really kind of helped me raise the kids as well. So I think, with hybrid working arrangement, it does help a lot.
At the height of COVID and everything.
My kids were born in 2018.
Ah.
Yeah, so they lived through many years of COVID. We could watch them grow up, we could do things in the garden, and while I'm still tending to conference calls and all that. So I think that, and even now, I mean, it's post-COVID, but we still have hybrid working arrangements here so that people can actually balance what's really important to them, like, mothers and kids and all that. So, in many ways, I was fortunate in that sense. Yeah.
It's a good shift that happened that allowed flexible working arrangements,
Yeah,
which
exactly.
bodes well for parents.
Totally. Or, for both mom and dad.
Or people handling caretaking. in that
Yeah,
sense.
exactly. And I mean, you also got to be quite conscious about like boundaries as well. For example, for me, a non-negotiable is that I always try to be home for dinner with the kids because it's kind of the only time I really see them because I make sure my kids go to bed really early.
Yes, and that's something that she made sure the interview
Yeah.
ends on time. Yes, we will let you go back on time for dinner. We won't hold you back there. So finally, drawing from your experiences across different workplaces and all your different life stages, Naiyen, how do you assess the industry today? And in terms of like supporting women, what do you think needs to change next or maybe be improved on?
I think the industry has been pretty good in the sense that giving moms, right, the avenue to be able to respond to what their children need and what the family needs as well, right? I think a lot of agencies still have the hybrid working arrangement. I think that really helps. But I also think within the workplace as well, just making it much more friendly and accessible for mothers, for instance, like, if you're not first time mom, if you're a mom with infants, there are a lot of things that you need to kind of take with you to the workplace and you need, just simple things like maternity room, right? For instance, So I think these things would help just facilitate that. But I guess also in many ways, it's giving dad also that opportunity so that they can help moms out, right? I think we talk about women being the sole person who's responsible for caretaker, but
But men
actually
have a role to play too.
dad
Yeah.
also have a big role to play. So I think that's also like an area to be looked at as well.
So not just moms.
I just feel that there's a lot to be celebrated within our industry and there's a lot to be achieved as well as women, as females in the industry. And
On that note, thank you so much, Naiyen, for your time today.
thank you, Shin, for having me.
And to the listeners out there, fear not, although this interview with Naiyen Wang from We Are Social is over, we've got loads of other episodes that you can catch on our Marketing Connected channel and YouTube. Be sure to follow us on Marketing Directed social media pages such as LinkedIn, Telegram, and Instagram to get alerts on new podcast episodes. Once again, thank you for tuning in to Marketing Connected, brought to you by Marketing Interactive. Goodbye, everyone.